Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are back with some more Doors of Dunera today. I'm very excited to be back with that. Before we start and before we go around and say hello to all these lovely people, please check out the links coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We do have a channel just for this game. We'd love to hear what you think about it and yell conspiracies or whatever it is you want to do. If you want to get into a game, you can head over to Twitter and drop Scrat a DM and we will get you on the list. I am one of the viewer game DMs, so come play some Everon with me. Also, if you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube and everything is in playlist so that you can binge watch, catch up, do whatever you want to do. Also, a huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Maychan Press. You can now get their book in hardback in stores, so you can order it to a store near you. Also, the wonderful Hero Forge that create the minis, some of them which you would have seen on the load up screen. They got some seriously awesome stuff over there, and we'll be doing some more with them very soon. Last but certainly not least, also the deck of many things and the magic moving spell cards. This also includes Humblewood, which is one of our other viewer games, which you can see on a Thursday. It's incredibly wholesome, lots of woodland critters, so you can head over. And there it is, Sarah showing it off. Otherwise, let's hop around and say hello to everyone, and we'll start as we always do with the lovely Jagon's Gold. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi, everyone. Hope you're all thriving today. I certainly am. I'm super excited for tonight's game. I play Paula Packer, dancer, librarian, and dad hunter.
So scary in a way. Otherwise, we're going to hop down and say hello to the lovely Tall School. Oh, hi.
Hello, I am Tall Squall and am happy to be here and to dive back into this amazing world. I am playing Averick Caldwell, who is the apprentice of one of our characters from the last 3 seasons, Tolan Falk. He is just recently realized that a lot of what he knew about his last 8 years of his life are not exactly as they thought they were, and is trying to rediscover his magic and himself, along with his Great Dane Anakwe, Clyde.
Wonderful, thank you. Then we're going to hop over and say hello to the very lovely Mal. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. I love how Squall's always like, here's my character and here's what's going on. And I'm just like, I don't fucking know what to talk about. I play Reese Blackash. He is a man from the north with very big wolf. He's been lots of places on Dunera. And we're slowly finding out more about him as we go. But to break from the game for a quick second, I just want to say, I know a lot of us, we're all stuck at home now, right? If you have Animal Crossing on the Switch and want to be friends and come see my island or have me visit you, just hit me up in the Discord and we could be Switch friends and get through this time together. Yeah, and Sarah too.
I love it. If no one makes an island called Dunera, I'll be very sad. Otherwise... Last but certainly not least, the very lovely Sarah. Oh, hi. You're muted for some reason.
No worries. So I'm going to reiterate Mal's statement and say hit me up if you want to. I have cherries on my island, but in Dunera, I play Florence Fetlock. She is a postal service worker for the city of Carnan, but now she delivers messages for people who have passed on to the, let's say, next phase of existence, whatever that may be. And she is excited to kind of learn more about what her powers can do and how they've been kind of opening up and changing as she sees more of the world. So excited for tonight.
Awesome, lovely, thank you. Last week we left everyone falling asleep after Paula was given this trinket, this kestrel carved out of a green stone, and a small boy said that a man gave it to him to give to her in the forest by the well, and there was a promise that the next day when everyone woke, then they would head out into the forest to this well. And that's where we find everyone in this huge hut as daylight is pouring in. And even as you sleep, you can see the people in all these furs and in all these leathers sleeping around you. The fog of your breath is sort of misting in the air. It is very cold. You can feel like that drop in temperature pinching like your cheeks. And Paula, there's a moment where it is uncomfortably cold. Maybe you're not used to it. Your body itself is warm, but you can definitely feel it on your face. When you feel a hand touch your shoulder and try and wake you very gently. It's not like a shake awake. It's a very sort of like a gentle nudge.
Despite it being a gentle nudge, Paula kind of like throws down the covers and sits upright. Well, guess it's time to get going. And she starts standing up before even realizing that someone woke her up. Like she almost thought that was her natural alarm clock.
And you sort of wake up and you see Maruk, that much more elderly woman, already dressed in her furs, that golden light coming in through the window. And she's going around and sort of giving you all a nudge. Next she goes to Florence, then to Averick, and then to Reese, and to Tuva, finally. How do all of you wake up? Is it as bolt upright as Paula? Or...
I think Reese was actually already up. And
just
I think
waiting.
when Reese is approached, he's actually got his knife out and he takes his ponytail and he carefully cuts it off and he takes the leather band and wraps it around his wrist.
She sort of gives you a smile as she does. She looks over to Averick. Wakey, wakey, I think that's what they say.
I think Averick is probably's already awake too, but I think he, because he's used to getting up early and getting brew and bindings going and all that type of stuff. But in this case, he's sort of lying on his side, sort of back to the fire, so there's some light, and I think he has been up studying the book, specifically feet. He's trying to figure out how to get, knowing that, having heard the conversation, they're going to be walking again. And so I think he is trying to get the last bits of knowledge that he can to give one last try at getting his foot back right, and so that it can fit well in a boot and he won't hold anyone up on any trekking that they're doing today.
She hands you this sort of very clay-made hot mug of tea, same to Reese, same to Paula, and then she walks over to you, Florence, is like, tea, you're going to be leaving very soon.
Oh, thank you so much. You have no idea how much this helps me wake up in the morning. And she's the sort to sleep in as much as she can, but once she gets going at a decent pace. She's used to kind of the early mornings from working at the post office, so she takes the tea and begins to kind of down it, even though there's still that beautiful steam coming up from it.
You get the feeling, all of you, that it is very early. Even you, Reese, even though you've woken up early, you feel particularly tired. And Maruk walks over to all of you, and you see a lot of people are still asleep, so her voice is quite low. They stirred a little bit when Paula jumped up, but otherwise she sort of looks at all of you. So, we have readied some things for you. The young boy Pan said he was to show you the well, and I'm afraid his mother is not permitting him to go, but his older brother will be accompanying you. You understand?
No, I don't exactly understand. The boy was the one who met this man And I expect that the boy should be the one to show us where to go.
Do you expect a 7-year-old child, not even just 7, to go out in the winter wilds with you at this time in the morning? Is that
Well,
what they do where you're from?
Well, he did yesterday, didn't he?
Not this early, and he wasn't supposed to either. From what I've heard, he's in a lot of trouble. And she sort of glances over, and you can see an older male walking towards the group, sort of seems to be sorting some things out as well. But she looks to all of you. I have warm coats, furs, proper boots, and the reindeer are waiting outside.
The reindeer. Are we like gonna ride on the reindeer?
What did you think you were going to do? You can't go by foot. It'll take a day.
Are they particularly easy to ride?
Very docile animals. Unless
You
you
see, I'm
wind them
more
up.
used to like gondolas and trams, that
There's
sort of
no-
thing.
There's no gondolas and trams here, I'm afraid. It's okay, you'll be in good hands. He sort of looks over towards where that younger man is walking over and says, Adrian will take you. He is Pan's older brother.
All right. You think this kid will know where to go, though? You don't think he's just, this is part of some gag?
And she looks at you for a moment. And, I don't believe Pan would have lied about something like this. He's a good boy.
Yeah, he seems good enough, but you never really know these kids. They can be very duplicitous.
And she sort of looks at you and says, have you been betrayed by a lot of children in your lifetime?
No, but they give me weird looks, and I just know what they're thinking.
You do?
Hmm.
That's a talent. And surely you should know that he's going to take you in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, I hope so, because if he doesn't, there will be consequences.
There will be words. She sort of shuffles aside and drops a couple of bags in front of you. Food. It's cold outside.
Yeah, I'm not really used to this kind of weather. Although
No.
Reese over there looks really suited to it, and kind of acknowledging the fact that his hair looks shorter when, you know, when Paula is shivering, you know, he's cutting his hair shorter. Which,
He is a Northman. He knows the ways of the ice.
well, I guess makes me feel a little bit better to have him around.
And she sort of smiles. There's not everything's bad about the North. Some of it's good. But you do have limited sunlight, around 5 hours. That's it. That's why you need the deer. You move quicker.
Could we get done in 5 hours?
And she shrugs.
It's gonna be a long journey home. I can feel it.
And she gives you a bit of a smile and looks to all of you. Is like, well, have a safe journey. I'll leave you in the kind hands of Adrian. And she shuffles away. And there's this moment where she goes, oh, if you're very particularly worried about the cold, thank you for rolling the trinkets list. He walks over to Paula saying, I find these very handy. And she gives you these 2 metal discs. And they've got some sort of language carved into them. It doesn't It's just not one you know. And she goes, you pop them in your gloves and they heat up. Keeps the temperature going. And she sort of like, if you're wearing gloves already, she just slides them in and you see your, like where the gloves are, they glow orange for a moment before calming down. They even steam a little bit.
Oh wow, that's very luxurious. You know, these could probably sell for quite a lot.
It's so your fingers don't fall off if they get too cold.
Right, we
It's
wouldn't
not
want
pretty.
we wouldn't want any fingers falling off now, would we?
No, it's not pretty.
Oh, have you lost a finger?
No, but I've seen it. It's funny now, but it's not something you want to experience.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would want to experience the loss of a very important digit.
We should go. We have limited day.
Yeah, try to make the most of this sunlight. Or pop a piece out the window to see if there's even any sunlight out.
There is sun. There's definitely like some golden sun coming through. You can see it
Okay.
streaming through the trees. You can see where the blue lights, the blue flames have extinguished overnight. But Adrian walks over. Looks to be around just over 6 foot. A younger man, very blonde hair, very bright green eyes. Tiny bit of a stubble on his chin. He doesn't look as broad as some of the others here. If anything, he looks tall but lean. And he walks over in these huge furs, long coat, massive boots, a quiver on his back, with these huge, almost like mittens on his hands as he looks to all of you. He's like, Adrian, apparently I'm taking you to the well. All of you, right?
Yes.
Maverick has been paying no attention whatsoever. He is still like turned away from the group with this book. He's now sitting upright, sort of in a half Indian style pose. His, metallic, sort of arcane cogworky leg sort of folded under him, and he's sitting there flipping, drinking his tea, flipping back and forth in the book and back and forth while he's got his other foot out, which still looks sort of like a mannequin foot, and just has paid no attention to anything that's going on around him as he's trying to put the last touches. And can I roll to see how he does?
Yes, of course you can.
So I'm going to say that the book is an asset, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on a 13, I think it starts to look like it has actual bones inside of it and tendons. It is not a perfect foot. It is a bit lopsided. The toes are sort of all the same length because he hasn't quite figured out. Well, better than it was. And it's like he looks up and he's not talking to anybody. He's not even looking at the party. He's facing away from everybody and just sort of talking to his tea and to the book.
And Adrian sort of looks in your direction. He's like, "You're going to put a boot on that?"
Well, yeah. Does anyone have one? What size do you think is? He sort of lifts his foot up and sort of puts it up. I didn't think about sizing. Damn.
He smiles and throws a pair of boots your way. Goes, "See if they fit."
God, I didn't even make them match the same size. He puts both of his feet up now. Damn it. Okay, next time. And he does have to get 2 different size boots, or leaves one off the metal leg because the metal leg doesn't care.
Seems like everyone's in the mood for a makeover today.
What? He sort of looks around. He doesn't notice any difference in anybody.
And Adrian waits until you've all put on layers. He probably throws them at Averick if Averick isn't noticing, sort of with a smile on his face, but he looks at all of you, he's like, right, we should probably go saddle up.
Averick like tries to put his hand, still holding the tea, through the sleeve while he's still holding the book, and finally gets himself put together. It's different than the Tolan routine, but you can see there's this. Yeah, he just seems to get distracted every time he's trying to get out the door for something else.
And Adrian sort of looks to all of you and then ducks out of this hut. Do you follow? You can see Tuva looks like, you know, when people dress up their kids so that they can barely walk because of how cold it is. Tuva looks like that right now. Rika doesn't look a lot different. But you all make your way outside and you see Adrian pulling these saddled reindeer. And these are a lot bigger than the ones in storybooks. These look huge. They stand maybe... Their back is just below Reese's height. These are big creatures. And he looks at you, he's like, probably fit 2 on 1.
Averick, having not paid attention, sort of is walking the other way and like sort of looking for like, starts to walk like out the gate of town because he thinks they're walking.
He said, I'll get him in a minute. So Adrian sort of watches him go, goes, I'll get him in a minute. Anyway, who's going to ride with who? And you see Rika already swinging up onto one of these reindeer and pulling Tuva up by the hood. As she sort of slowly leaves the ground and ends up being placed onto one of these reindeer. And he looks to all of you.
I'll take our wandering friend when they come back.
And he sort of laughs.
Averick is like talking to a guard asking directions.
Yeah. You've left the village, you've started heading out.
I'm basically like, he's not left like the blue flame thing, but I figure there's like some sort of guards or some sort of, just like...
Yeah, he looks very confused.
So I'm heading to the well. Can you point the direction? I think that my party must have gotten ahead of me, that, sort of pointing out there, assuming that he's fallen behind.
And this guard just points back at the party.
Oh.
And you can see these huge reindeer. You can see Reese.
This is no time to pet reindeer. Why are they every time? You would not believe the menagerie of pets that this group has collected. He just sort of stomps back towards the group.
You look like the guard's going to say something, but he just... But Reese, would you have ridden one of these before? Because you've definitely seen them before. If anything,
I'm sure I've ridden one of these before. Like I was imagining as these conversations are happening, Reese is very much like Rika, just swings up like it's nobody's business and absent-mindedly just like, I'll take care of Averick when they come back.
And Adrian sort of laughs and looks towards Florence and Paula. Like, looks like you two are on one then.
Paula, do you want the front or the back? And also, I'm gonna need do you have a stool maybe the children use? Yes, a booth.
And he puts his hands out for your foot.
Do you know how to ride one of these things, Florence? I mean...
One of these?
Yeah.
No, but...
Wait, is this a good idea? I just don't know if, Paula's like, she's having a real panicky moment. Like, someone who's afraid of flying kind of thing, like, this just seems like a bad idea, like a really bad idea.
And you see this fog of like the hot air leaving this reindeer's nostrils as it's sort of, and these huge antlers that reach up almost directly upright. They don't go out, just straight up, and this brown sort of white and speckled pattern as it lowers its huge heavy head towards you, the reins sort of clanging.
Right now, I don't think we have a lot of options to figure out if it's good or bad what we're doing, but it is the next step. You want to see this guy at the well, so this is the way to the well.
Okay, you take the reins, I'll close my eyes.
I'll close my eyes too, but okay. And she'll use
Oh
the
my
boost to
God.
get up.
You both close your eyes.
Paula turns green.
You both close your eyes, but you both also manage to, you feel being lifted up onto this, and Adrian almost righting both of you, putting your legs in the stirrups for both of you because you're not looking. You hear him chuckle as he sort of buttons up the last bit of his coat and swings on one himself. You might want to just hold on a bit. They can move fast, but we'll take it slow. Probably for the best, right?
Well, not too slow because we don't want to be late to our appointment.
He smiles. It's like, come on. And you see his huge reindeer's ears sort of flap as he sort of nudges it into movement. And Reese, how are you picking up Averick?
I'm actually thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, in his travels in the South, certainly, with Tolan, I would think he's probably ridden a horse. He'd probably even like ridden like a camel or whatever would be like the southern.
Oh yeah, there's things like that you've definitely ridden. I don't.
So I think that there's the first sort of confusion of are we doing this pet thing again? And then I think he realizes that, oh, we're riding. And so seeing that there's, that the only place that's left, is behind Reese. I think he probably gets up pretty easily, just sort of like puts out his hand and sort of does the forearm to forearm grip and hops up right behind him. I think this is, again, now that he's not thinking about the book in his foot and is got a little bit of focus and not having his attention drawn elsewhere, he gets up pretty quick.
And you meet Reese's grip and you get sort of thrown up into the back of the saddle, and you can watch Adrian sort of indicate to all of you as he starts to plod this reindeer out of the boundary past the fires.
I think Averick will go to Reese. Man, it's easier. These don't have humps. I don't know whether Reese would know what I'm talking about. I don't know whether Reese would have ever seen a camel.
There's a lot of open-ended exploration in Reese's backstory, so
okay.
Has he met a camel? I don't know.
Okay. So whether he understands the comment or not, Averick's easier without the humps. Nice handlebars too. Sort of pointing at the antlers.
And you head out past the now sort of being relit fireplaces. You can see Marut give you a wave off as she pulls out that night opal and starts to light these blue fires as you start to weave in between the trees. These are all very straight up trees, no real huge branches. There's some quite sort of wiry, thin ones. And every now and then that snow gets kicked up at the back by these reindeer. You see it sinking high up to where the joints are by their knees. And you plod through this forest. It is silent. Every now and then you hear a bird sort of twitter overhead. It's more than you heard beforehand. And this bright sun, when it hits your face, it's warm, but you feel how cold it is out here as you move between these trees. And there's this sort of moment where you notice that Adrian moves very, very slowly. He's constantly watching. And I'll say you can see the quiver on his back. You can see the bow. But also the arrows themselves. You can see these aren't normal arrows. They're made out of a strange stone, sort of a color, and they seem to swirl in color. This doesn't just look like an obsidian arrowhead or a stone arrowhead or anything like that. But he looks back at all of you. Everyone doing okay? No one's fallen off yet, have they?
We're good here, right, Averick?
Oh, yeah. He seems to be looking off like over at the trees. kind of looking to see if, like, how dark is it back under the trees of the forest? I mean, dark enough that
it's not that bad. It's actually got loads of light coming through, and the light is in particular reflecting off of the snow, so it's quite bright at the moment. You've got lots of long shadows from the direction of the sun, how big these trees are as they cast over, but there's a lot of light here.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of an eye out just in case those dark stalkers might be able to lurk in the shadows even if the sun is up.
Okay. And Adrian
Florence calls out.
looks back to Florence, and Paula is like, to see if their eyes are still open.
Florence, I think, took a really deep breath, and she had her eyes closed for that first little bit as they passed out of the boundary, and kind of tried to very slowly, or very quickly rather, come to terms with the fact that they're leaving that safe ring of blue flames again. But once that passes, she's able to kind of focus on the path ahead. Biddy, her bat and aquai, flies around a little bit before coming to perch upside down from the reindeer's antlers and seems to be enjoying the ride. And she calls back out, actually, this isn't too bad once you get over the fact that we're out of town. It's not too different from riding on a horse, but man, these things are big.
You do look down, you can see how high off the ground you are, and the huge saddle sort of packs that are strapped to these large animals, and they seem very calm, just trudging through the snow.
Paula, in contrast to these calm beasts, her eyes are closed, and she's actually like gripping onto Florence, and it's just, and she's kind of like repeating her mantra, like, oh, it's no different than the tram ride on a windy day. And it's just like the tram on a windy day. And in her head, to calm herself from being on the back of this creature that's, you know, a couple feet off the ground, but nothing too crazy, she's picturing herself on a tram going over the city at like incredible heights while rocking back and forth, and somehow that's soothing for her. But it's just what she's used to, and it's what makes her feel good. So that's how she's coping with this.
You watch it go. You look up and you look around, and you can see those few birds sort of singing in between the trees, landing on those thin branches as you see them bend, and that snow falls off. And every now and then, every time a bird lands, you feel a bit of snow sort of patter out from the leaves and these ferns. And just ahead of you is just forest. There's nothing else for quite a way. And could you all, if you think you'd be looking around, a perception or an intellect check, please. If you think you'd be too distracted by anything else, then that's fine.
I mean, I think Averick is, as I was saying, is looking around. He, one of the things he's marveling at is that is new to him is from this new stuff, he actually has eyes adjusted, basically kind of dark vision-ish. Mm-hmm. So would that give an asset to this? What is this, an intellect?
It's pretty bright already.
Okay.
So I don't think it
okay,
would
that's
necessarily.
Fine. Cool, no worries. Just wondering. And you said intellect?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, is anyone else looking around? Okay.
I think Reese would be more listening than looking.
Okay. Roll an intellect or something.
I think
Astrid is moving very quickly beside you.
I think it's not that Reese has been on his alone with Astrid for a long time. It's not that he's not cautious, but he knows if Astrid's there, she's also looking out for everyone. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You listen and you hear this almost like a song of metal, like wind chimes. And it's very much as if a breeze was blowing through the metal, and You look up into the trees and you can see over all of these lowest branches as you sort of enter this, I guess, the next part of the forest. It almost seems to be like a boundary. Wind chimes. Bits of metal, bits of wood, bits of stone hanging from these trees, clacking together. Some of it a metal sort of ting as you go through. Adrian doesn't seem to pay much mind to them, but Reese, you can definitely see them all sort of above, and you heard them before anything. It's the birds don't seem to go this far. You're not sure if it's because of something else or the fact that it's literally covered in wind chimes. It almost like becomes part of the forest. It's if these were fruit-bearing trees, that's what this would look like.
I think Florence is too focused on staying calm to really be taking in much about her surroundings. In fact, I think it's that Paula is trying so hard to stay calm that's what's almost centering Florence. When she's traveled in the past, she's used to being there with someone and having someone close to her, and usually they would take turns being the one who had their head on straight. So this is helping ground her in a way, but she doesn't see anything of note.
No. I think, as I said, you might, after a while, thank you for all of these donations, subs, thank you. But after you do start to see the wind chimes, maybe because you might see Reese looking up, but this tune is very, very soft. There's no harsh breeze, so you can't hear, it's not like a clatter. And on a GM intrusion, Averick, you're sort of hugging the back of Reese, and you spot these. As soon as you see Reese's head go up, and you miss the footprint on the ground beside you.
Yeah, he misses it. Chimes. What do you think the chimes are for? You're kind of looking up.
I'm not sure, but do you notice how quiet it is beside that? There's no birds.
Well, may the chimes keep the birds away?
Maybe.
Hey, Paula, what do you think the chimes are for? He raises his voice.
Chimes. Wait, and Paula's like trying to shake herself out of like this mental world she's built up of just her sitting on the tram, going to work. Chimes, and she's kind of grounding herself back in reality, and then listens for them. Oh no. Chimes are never a good sign.
Well, the Guardians, when they kind of have chimes, it's more clacking than ringing like these. Why do you say that? Oh, and then he realizes because Averick has been to the Seer's chamber too. Quack was questioned, and then he sort of then goes, "Oh, you don't think?"
No, I mean, I thought the church didn't have a presence up here.
Well, but I mean, the Seers were definitely tapping into some type of power, right? I mean, is it, we've been discovering a lot about stories. Could what the Seers are able to do be from some old northern magic or something?
Perhaps. Whatever it is, they definitely shouldn't have access to it.
I'm afraid I don't follow.
The Seers in the church, when they questioned me and when they questioned Paula, I guess, they have chimes everywhere where they go up there and they can see your thoughts or hear them or know what is true or not.
It's hard to tell whether the chimes are messing with your head, or they mess with your head and the chimes are just really annoying.
I mean, maybe distract you so they're able to listen better.
I actually kind of find them beautiful. The tinkling is, I'll just say it, better than the silence. It almost feels like maybe there's birds chirping or somewhere close to us.
Oh man,
But-
why'd you say tinkle?
What? No, it's the wind. We're far away.
He sort of, I can hold it. And readjusts himself.
And you can see the deeper you go into this forest, the more of these trinkets hang from the trees. It's all very much things made out of metal. It looks like things that have been made out of bits of bark, bits of metal lying around, and things like that. Some of them have been shaped into little animals, some of them have been shaped just in different sort of shards. And there's this moment where Adrian turns around and sees you all looking up, and he's like, the chimes, yeah, do you not have things like this?
I mean, we have chimes. It's just that chime collections, just based on some negative experience, kind of have built up some associations for a few of us.
We put them out in the woods because he looks around. It's easy to get lost in a woods that looks exactly the same everywhere. And when you walk around for too long, you question what you see, and it's how you know she or some of the night stalkers are near. The warning bell.
Right. That makes sense. See nothing to worry about here, Averick. Why are you so worried?
Deserts, dry sand, hot winds. He's trying to. I think one leg is kind of shaking on the back of the reindeer with that, what would have been with the minus on it, basically rolling an 8.
And Adrian sort of pulls back his reindeer a bit just so he can walk beside all of you, realizing he's probably more able than most people here to ride one of these. She's like, if you do hear anything like a clatter, you say, it's... Ooh, thank you, Hype Train. It looks like I'm going to get 8 disadvantages to give out.
Oh, no.
He sort of looks around, and you can tell he looks he looks uncomfortable. And he's sort of... It's, as I said, it gives you a warning. I assume you saw the Night Stalkers on the night you arrived.
Up close and personal.
And hopefully for the last time, too.
Well, let's keep moving, because we don't want to meet their creator. And he sort of nudges this reindeer further along, and more and more of these chimes appear, and scratches in the bark on the trees around, and there's just this weird feeling of quiet, and you realize the birds have stopped making a sound. It's not dark, but it's getting, like, the sun is getting a little bit lower. And it's been a while as you walk and he sort of pauses again. When we get to the lake, it'll be on the well is on the other side. So if we move quickly, we'll get there before nightfall.
Your brother came all this way by himself?
Not by himself. We go out hunting round here, but he wanders off every now and then. He's in big trouble right now. And he sort of like looks to Paula like, yeah, he's in trouble.
I think with the addition of additional chimes, which got him thinking about it, and then the mention of a lake and a well, and the fact that I rolled a 2, Havrick's like, can we just stop just for a second? I just need a sec. And I think he probably hops down off and runs over into the trees.
Adrian watches you go. He does dismount from the reindeer and looks at you, he's like, just give him a second, and sort of smiles. We've got only a little bit further, and then we'll get towards the lake. We'll cross it, and then we'll be at the well, and you do what you need to do. Whatever that is, as he sort of looks to all of you.
Oh yeah, no, Averick runs off to go pee.
Do a lot of people live out here by themselves?
You get the old wanderer, and he sort of looks over at Reese briefly, but not really. You don't want to be out here on your own. It's easier to be in groups, you know, with the Night Stalkers out. It's why we usually have the reindeer. They're fast. Much easier than foot. You know?
For a second, Paula stops as they're talking about Night Stalkers, and they're going on this trip to meet someone who could very well potentially be her father for all she knows. And she remembers that the vision that she had of Edric being chased through the woods. And there's a lingering thought that maybe at some point Edric was running from the Obliviates, but she kind of stores that away in her internal filing system. Maybe she writes a note in her pad that she carries around with her
that'll
bliss.
be in like mittens. It might be carved. You don't want to take your gloves off right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can see at where ice has actually crept up some of the reins, and those chimes start to sway in the breeze a little bit, very gently. And Adrian looks to all of you. Right. Once we get back on, we don't separate. Even if we do come across the Night Stalkers, you just bolt and stick together. The reindeer are pretty good. They should follow each other. And you can see Rika there, and Tuva, who is basically this much of human right now in the amount of layers she's been put in. You can see like this dragon sort of like tongue every now and again coming out of this jacket. And Brenna, attached to, sort of sat almost up where the antlers are on this reindeer. And Adrian looks around. It's taken a while. Give me a second. And Averick, as you've moved out.
There's lots of
into the
layers,
forest,
okay?
You've moved
He's not
out.
familiar with all these layers.
You've moved out, and you're weaving through these trees, and as you do, you can hear those wind chimes as they move, and the forest has fallen silent, and for a while you can hear the group's voices, but they slowly seem to fade away.
I think there's that a little bit of relief, because he was worried. He was reading the book and unfortunately drinking all the tea before he left and didn't take a moment before leaving the village. So, yeah, he's like leaning against you, just, oh yeah, totally
And
paying no attention.
you hear a soft clatter of metal and stone as this very direct breeze sort of wafts between the branches. You hear them up ahead, and everything is quiet. And as you sort of sort yourself out, you pause for a moment and look down at footsteps in the snow, not yours.
Human footsteps, animal footprints, or just like a broken trail?
Small human footsteps.
Tuva, did you have to go potty too? We should get back to the group.
Roll an intellect check for me, please.
Just flat, or do I have disadvantages, or what's this?
Oh no, you're just flat.
Okay, seeing as you got 8 of them, I thought I would check. Oh, that's a 3.
Okay. You turn around where you were. You can't see the group anymore. You stood in this snow that comes sort of up around your shins, and just this white, this sun sort of lowering in the sky, these clatter of these wind chimes, and a small figure on the horizon, very small, almost childlike in size.
Don't go too far. I mean, come. I assume with that roll, he's gonna think it's Tuva, and so he's gonna go follow it. And
are you running or are you just walking? Is it like?
I mean,
she's
if they're
quite far, she's quite far.
Then I probably will run because I don't want to lose sight of her. And if for somehow him being distracted, if someone said, "Hey, Tuva's coming with you," and he just missed it. I mean, I think that's probably, knowing that he gets distracted and sometimes misses things, I think that he probably has that, oh God, was I supposed to watch Tuva when she came out to go potty too? And so, yeah, he at this point thinks he's on the hook for having lost Tuva. And so it's like, Reese is gonna kill me, and starts running after this figure.
And you run, and this person doesn't seem to sprint, they keep their own pace. And as you get closer and closer, you can feel how that cold air is like reaching inside your lungs. You know, when you can feel it when you run on a cold day, you feel it. And you get there, and there is a small girl with raven black hair and heavy furs. She turns round, and it's not Tuva. She looks at you. Hello. What are you doing?
Peeing. I thought you were someone who was with us, but you're not. Are you lost? I can take you back to the group. We have reindeer. We could give you a ride.
And she takes a step forward. You see her little mittened hands. Are you lost?
Well, no. You can just. He turns around. Oh. Well, we can follow our footprints back. Yeah, we'll follow our footprints back. Don't worry, I'll make sure you're okay.
Thank you. She holds out her hand.
Oh, and he grabs it. Because, of course he does. I rolled a 3.
And you sort of take hold of her hand, and she smiles at you,
Thank you. I've been out here a while. Have you got lots of friends out here then?
Yeah, there's 4 of us. We've got 3 reindeer, and we've got a great guide from the village. Adrian, tall guy, blonde hair, green eyes. Maybe you know him.
I don't know an Adrian.
Okay. Well,
And she stares up at you with these very big eyes, with this, for a moment, almost what looks like a flash of purple in the irises, and gives you a smile.
well, let's get you back to where you're supposed to be, and you'll start following his footprints back, hopefully to the group.
Okay. You start
If I can
following the
keep tracking
footprints.
them.
And as you do, she walks very quietly. You feel a little hand grip yours through this mitten.
People get lost out here a lot.
I bet. Yeah, I forgot to. I had a big cup of tea, and we got on these reindeer, and then there was these chimes, and they were talking about tinkling, and then it was all downhill from there.
She wrinkles her nose.
I don't like reindeer.
Oh well,
Big and they're scary.
these are nice. We were riding them.
And again,
Don't worry.
pulls a face.
Well, if worse comes to worse, so here's an interesting question. I guess Clyde's around somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
He's very sort of a grayish, smoky color. So he every now and then you can see him sort of move along
in between the trees. I mean, if worse comes to worse, I mean, she's like small enough that she could ride either Clyde or certainly maybe just Astra. I mean, is she that small of a little girl?
Yeah, she's looks to be about 6 years old. She looks maybe even younger than Tuva.
Well, my friend's got a big shaggy dog that you could ride, or you could ride on Clyde. He hardly ever goes incorporeal.
She frowns again, looks towards Clyde. Huh. And pauses for a moment.
Why are you all the way out here on your own, though? I don't see anyone.
At this point, have we walked far enough that I would think that we should be back by now?
Oh yeah.
And I've been following.
You're following footsteps.
Oh no. Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to like pee in front of everyone, but I didn't go that far off the trail.
It's okay. People get lost in the woods.
Well, you're from around here. Do you know the way back
Back where?
to the village or to the well? There's a lake and a well.
And she tips her head.
You're going to the well?
Yeah. We're meeting someone there, or there was someone who was today. Do you know the way to the well from here? I look up. Are there chimes around?
You can see a few, but the steps seem to have led you just away from them.
There were lots of chimes where we were before.
I don't like them. They make too much noise.
I can't say I'm a fan. It made me think about these are sort of smiles and blushes, probably.
And she again sort of frowns at you, but not like an upset frown. It's like a confusion.
What's your name? I'm Averick.
I can't tell anyone my name. You're a stranger.
That's a good rule.
So, Averick, what do you intend to do now we're lost?
Well, to get found.
How'd you get found when you're lost?
he pulls out the compass.
Okay.
And he knows when he looked at it last night, it was pointing to the northwest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he would have known what direction they left from the village at, though. So can I roll to see if he has any idea what direction they were traveling in before, to sort of figure out a way to sort of triangulate things?
First of all, you remember you had to touch it with your bare hands for it to activate, which you can do.
Yeah, so I mean, he would take his glove off and open it, take his gloves, put them in a pocket.
And she goes, "That's really pretty."
Yeah, it was my good friend's, but I guess I'm holding on to it for him now.
Oh, it looks broken.
Sort of, but I mean, most compasses point north. This one, I think, always is going to point towards the same thing, though, which it points northwest. So if we just pretend like northwest is north, I can at least know that we're going in a straight line. Because a lot of times when you're lost, you walk in circles.
That makes sense. Can I have a look?
Oh, shit. Come on, Averick.
I'll be real gentle.
He hands her the compass.
She takes off her mittens. Sort of, you see they're attached. And as you hold out this compass, she takes it. Could you roll an intellect check for me, please, just to see if you notice something?
Okay, yeah. I mean, literally, I've rolled a 1, a 2, and a 3. So, I mean, and another 1. Do I get XP for these GM?
I mean, the GM intrusion, technically, yes.
Yes.
But you hand.
But yeah,
her
I
this
accept the
compass.
intrusion. Because let's follow the worst potty break in TTRPG history.
Oh, hi everyone. We're back. Sorry about that blip, but we are back. And Averick is alone in the forest. That music timed very well. That was not me.
That really did. Really terrifyingly well.
And Averick, as you hand over this compass, and as you do, there is this moment where you look down at this child with this raven hair, and you look at her hands, and her hands don't look right. She takes them out of the mittens and takes this compass from you. And her hands are old. They're wrinkled as she clasps this compass in her hands and looks up at you.
Thank you.
I think I need that back.
And she sort of holds the compass up to her face and takes a long sort of breathe in as she sniffs it.
Oh no.
And
like the shadow people used to sniff magic?
Make an intellect check, Averick.
Seeing your stack of disadvantages, I'm just gonna straight or
Oh, straight.
Okay, or whether I was checking to see if you were giving me disadvantage.
No, I want you to see this.
Well, a 9.
You stand there looking down at
Averick
this
is
child.
shaking.
Looking down at this child as she smiles back, those very violet eyes looking at you, the old hands that clasp this as she takes in that breath. And there's a moment where you look around you and you realize you're not alone in this forest at all. As she sniffs it and smiles and lets out a breath, it's almost as if a veil gets lifted. And suddenly your ears are ringing madly. All those wind chimes violently throwing themselves up in the branches, the clatter of metal, the clatter of stone and wood. As stood around you, maybe 3 or 4 in a circle around you and the little girl, as she holds this compass up at you, and then peering from the trees, these huge bent over night stalkers, as their chests rise and fall as they breathe. And above your head you hear that particular clatter as you look up and see one crawling down the bark towards you, those big carved marks in that tree.
Oh crap, 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 oh crap.
She looks at you and smiles.
I think Averick is, oh golly,
And they move inch by inch, almost as if they can't see you for a moment, but by her being right next to you is why you both couldn't see each other. Her eyes flash purple.
These are my friends. They're not like yours.
I'm gonna try to reach out and take the compass back from her.
She holds it out for you to take it.
Thank you. I just start backing away. My Averick's mind is just reeling. I don't know which way to go. Because it's the only direction that he's got. He looks down at...
Backing up.
I'm backing up. I look down at the compass just to see what direction it's pointing, so I know what direction I've gone from here. And unless it's pointing directly at her, then I'll go the exact opposite. Otherwise, I'm going to follow the needle.
It points in a different direction, not towards her. As you sort of look down at it, as you've backed up, she's right beneath the compass, looking back at you again. You didn't see her move, you see no footprints in the snow. As she starts to grow.
Oh.
The best way to describe it is maybe something Averick has seen before with everything, that malformation, as the shoulders pop. They spread. And on this small child, before she starts to grow, you see an old face. This haggard face, this grey skin, this hollow skin as it starts to stretch up and up. And she is about this far away from you. As she passes your height and keeps growing up and up. Her nose stretches, her jaw and jowls sort of elongate, and she rolls her shoulders and flicks out her hands, and you see these bright red nails. Chipped, but as if they've been painted. And she smiles. Welcome to my forest.
Oh, he runs.
You charge. You what? You just turn and run in the opposite direction, or
like I said, I'm gonna try to follow the needle, but if there's an obvious opening that I can go, either to run directly away from her, but I'm going to try to at least keep my head a little bit so that I know that I'm running in a straight line and that I'm not running in circles out in the woods, or that I, just to try to keep a little bit of a direction. But if there is so many of these that I just have to try and not get touched by one, I will just run at wherever there's a clearing that I can get through.
And she smiles. And you turn to run. And as you do, these things start
it's the music.
to gallop after you. And at this point, you see that she joins them. She moves fairly slowly, almost gliding through this forest without anything else really pulling her in any direction. You see her grow higher and higher. She almost reaches 7 foot tall. Her fingers long, almost like these creatures, but she is definitely more of a human form than they are. And you speed through these trees, you weave, you bob, and you crash. I need you to make a speed check to try and outrun them, please.
Okay. Yep. Speed check. I am going to use an advantage on this one because I want to get a little bit ahead so that I can do some stuff to help him survive this. So I will do this at advantage at this point. I'm not going to use effort because I think I'm going to need it later. So I'm just going to do this at advantage. A 19 and a 9. I'm just wanting to try to get as much distance between this pack of them so that I can start getting Averick ready.
Yeah. You start sprinting, and all of these things are galloping through. Out of the side of your eyes, you can see more and more coming through this forest. You can see the sun not going down, but getting lower in the sky as this happens. You see one of these creatures bounding along next to you. What would you like to do?
At this point, I'm going to spend. I'm going to keep running, but I'm going to spend 2 might points for toughness, which gives me basically use his shaping that he's just learned at least some about, but also just sort of this inherent reflexive, his what's called his rapid reforging, which allows him to basically almost instinctually just kind of, it is not elegant, it just makes it so that he's able to do stuff. So I'm going to spend those 2 might points and have him gain +2 armor for 10 minutes. Okay. And I think as it happens, again, he is not good at this. This is new to this. He's got Clyde running next to him as he runs. He's put the compass into his pocket. And I think you just sort of see whatever little bit of flesh, probably his hands and his face, just looks to like sort of thicken and just become almost, because he is familiar with a lot of southern animals from his travels, looks kind of almost like scales, like he's seen on like almost like turtles or lizards or things like that, that his skin just gets tougher, looks like it's got some like leathery scaliness to it.
Are you yelling as you go?
I'm trying to remember the instructions that they gave us, and I thought it was no sound. It was don't look at them and don't make sound. So I think he's trying to do this as quietly as possible. So I think he's just trying to leap and jump over things as best that he can to try to put distance at this point.
Okay, and you're running. The rest of you're back at the rain dip. Averick has been gone a while, and you can see Adrian is getting nervous. Could you all roll an intellect check for me, please? Or a listen or a perception, either one.
I'm going to. Actually, I'm not going to. Oh yeah, I'll spend 1 from my pool. An effort. Or I'll spend 2 effort.
Okay. First of all, if anything, Reese, it's you that catches it first. Like your ears sort of prick up almost exactly at the same time as Astrid, and you both look in the same direction. And you hear this crunching, this crashing. First of all, it sounds like snow falling from the trees in heavy sort of stacks, and then you hear that breaking of wood. and those wind chimes, that almost deafening sound of this clack and this metal, and this almost thud and this thunder. You sort of look at Astrid and lock eyes and realize as she looks towards the ground, and you see the reindeers. You know how sensitive both Astrid and the reindeer and animals in general are to things in the wild, and they start to panic. Adrian turns around and looks at everyone. And Paula, over in the distance, heading in the direction you're supposed to be going, you see Averick tearing through the snow. Almost an awkward run because this snow is deep. And you see all of these night crawlers, these dark crawlers, these shadows, these stalkers as they come galloping, mainly on their full sort of front long arms rather than their back legs, using their arms to dig these nails into the ground and drag themselves after him. What would you like to do?
Paula will shout, "Over there!" and point to get everyone's attention. But she's shouting it, so...
Okay. Yeah, as you shout, Florence, that's when you notice that these things stop. Some of them keep tearing off after Averick. You see Averick headed in the direction you are, and Adrian yells to all of you, "Run!" As he starts, he swings himself back onto that reindeer, and he starts charging after Averick. Are you all following?
Yeah, as soon as Paula's like over there, Reese is like, "We're going." And
Okay.
yep. Like he's gonna take control of that reindeer and he's gonna go try and grab Averick.
Roll a speed check for me, please. Or might, either one you would prefer to manage this.
Can I roll with my riding that I'm proficient in?
Yes, you can.
Nice.
And I'm gonna spend one of my advantage for it as well. 12.
Okay. Describe it to me as, Reese, you take over the group past Adrian towards Everett.
I think being used to both riding various things, and especially Astrid's lean even as big as she is, and so Reese gets the reindeer going and hunkers down really low and kind of almost stands up as much as he can but keeps himself low at the same time, and he's got like the reins wrapped around the one hand so his one hand is free, so as soon as he gets to Averick he can grab him and help him.
Okay.
And yeah, and then I think I'm sort of imagining I don't remember his name, but the main character in Princess Mononoke when he's riding the stag.
Yeah, you sort of got your head down and you've got Astrid keeping pace next to you as you both sprint, riding this reindeer through the woods, weaving in between the trees. That snow is being kicked up as you head straight towards Averick. Aiden is close behind you as he charges through. I will offer Florence and Paula a GM intrusion.
I'm down.
Yes, we'll take it.
Okay. You have both charged off behind. You're not quite as nimble with these reindeer. You can see Reese take off towards Averick. You see Adrian head off in the same direction. You were getting going. You were getting this reindeer going, but where you screamed, Paula, there's suddenly a crack and a splinter as the tree beside you effectively explodes as this creature, this almost old woman-like thing, bursts through it, lands on all fours to a skidding halt, this long raven hair sort of draped all the way down to the floor, this grey skin. All limbs and legs are out, they look fairly bony, and she throws her head back up at you and screeches, dropping her mouth as she throws herself towards you and the reindeer. would you both like to do?
I think Florence almost like screams, and she's the one holding onto the reins and will like instinctively just like, you're not supposed to do this, but she's just gonna retch them in the other direction, just trying to feel like that'll do something to get them away from this.
Roll me a speed check, please, to react in time.
While Florence is doing this, Paula's jaw literally unhinges with a scream. Like, it's almost like she's screaming back at this old woman, like...
You both scream at each other as this creature sort of launches itself in a flurry of these long claw-like nails. Florence, you yank this reindeer as it sort of falls to the side, and you manage to steady it, moving it out of the way of this creature as it jumps, missing you, comes skidding, and you can hear that weird sort of clicking as the fingers move, as it comes to a skidding halt, and then looks back towards you, ready to jump again.
And I think Florence is still like, she's holding onto those reins too hard, and she's quickly trying to look around herself, and she's looking back at Paula as well. Where did the others go? Adrian told us not to break up. Where did they go? I can't see them.
Let's try that way. And Paula will point generally in the direction she saw Talon running before.
Would you like to roll navigate?
Yes. Can I also use... Actually, I'm going to use an auto success.
Okay. So you point in the direction, and it's more that you can see Adrian. You see him running. He's half stood in his saddle. He's drawing one of those arrows as he's coming charging back towards you. And as he does, you charge in that direction. And this huge creature starts almost growing in size with each movement. And in one of them, you see her almost to try and pull herself along, rips almost completely through one of these trees. That snarl and that hiss, that tangle of the wind chimes as she comes tearing through. Reese, you can see Averick. Could you make a speed check, please, to see Reese to grab his hand? I can't.
Averick is running, and is going to speed check. He's got a lot of things on his mind, so I'm going to I want to see what the dice tell the story as of how this goes. On a 10.
Okay. You sort of turn around at that last moment and see Reese. Reese, are you hanging like off the side, like to? Yeah. You're charging, and Averick, you see this huge wolf, Astrid, bounding towards you, as well as Reese and this reindeer. And as you do, he grabs you and swings you up onto the back of the reindeer. But if you see this, you see Adrian heading back towards where Paula and Florence are. This huge creature, now double in size to what you saw in the forest, as it is charging after the group.
Averick would just go, she's the problem. We need to get back there. They're going to need help. I don't know what that is. It was a little girl in the forest.
Doesn't look like a little girl now.
Nope. It's all full of nope now.
And you you hook this reindeer back round. Paula and Florence, in fact, both of you, I need you to make a speed check to control. In fact, sorry, just Florence, because you've got the reins. A speed check to navigate this, and I'm going to use a disadvantage on you as well.
Okay, so I'm like imagining Florence is in the front, Paula's in the back, and I'm imagining Paula's like gesturing over Florence's shoulder and pointing, and Florence is like desperately trying to follow that finger and steer the reindeer in that direction. So I'm gonna chalk that up to Paula's navigation skills.
You've got is Paula like screaming in Florence's ear where to go, like with this hand as well as Florence is navigating?
Paula is certainly screaming. She's pointing with her hand, but she's actually saying things like, I thought these things were only supposed to come out at night. This is ridiculous. This kid set us up. Like, you know, she's like shouting her conspiracy theories, and like she's just kind of like going on like a tirade, but she's definitely pointing.
Yeah, you're screaming, and as you do, you look back for a moment as this huge limbed grey creature launches itself, almost springboarding off of one of the trees, coming over you. When you hear that as an arrow sails overhead, you can see the arrowhead itself blazing in a bright sort of white color as it light as it goes shooting across, striking this creature in the shoulder as it screeches and falls back. And he pulls round. Is like, we need to get to the lake and we need to get there now. As he turns and looks to all of you, we need to move now. We're not going to win against a night hag.
Well, after you.
And he almost he clicks towards this reindeer, which then starts sprinting after at the same time. Reese, you can see them both turn round. Averick, you can see this too. And Adrian is making this like twisting sort of like motion with his hand for you to turn round.
Wrong way, wrong way, wrong way.
I will say in your riding check, Reese, you can definitely just steer this, and you are all galloping through this forest as you are weaving through this. I need you all to make either a riding or a speed check, all of you, to avoid these night stalkers that are coming from either, not in front of you, but either side of you, as their leader effectively has been hit.
Can I use speed defense?
Yes, you may.
Okay, speed defense, cool.
Mm-hmm.
2 effort.
19.
Florence is like tuning into Paula's screaming and pointing, and I'm gonna roll it advantage for this.
Okay.
How far away is the night hag?
The night hag has fallen back. They're not super close. If anything, you've lost sight as she disappeared into the water, into the snow. And I say that because you can see some of the snow melt a little bit around her as she falls. I will say you are all riding ferociously through this. As you do, Reese and Averick, a mixture of you controlling, both Reese controlling this reindeer and Averick just being aware these night stalkers crash just overhead of you, you ducking at the last second, and Reese yanking this reindeer as they go crashing almost into each other and tumbling into one of the trees. I will say that Paula, you are clinging on for dear life. If I don't know if it's whether you're clinging on to both a mix of Florence and the saddle itself, but you are holding on, and you can feel you can see your knuckles are turning white with how hard you are holding on. And you do for a moment think you see Florence slip, and Florence, you notice one of the buckles on your saddle has loosened where your foot has gone down as you almost slip. And you will continue to charge. Adrian takes over ahead as he starts leading you all, weaving through this pathway. I need you all to make one more speed defense or riding check to avoid.
How close are with Florence starting to fall? I mean, are things closer to her? Are they in jeopardy of getting?
Sides. They're coming from the sides. It's kind of equal on all of you.
I'm gonna go ahead and let them roll. Averick is keeping an eye on them.
Okay.
To potentially help out, seeing as I think, feeling that he and Reese are in sync with this reindeer.
Okay.
I'm also gonna spend I'm gonna spend 3 effort this time.
There's that curse.
There it is. Oh, there it is.
And I'll also spend an effort on trying to keep upright.
Okay, so I guess, golly, what should I do? So should I roll that, but also with the idea that I was looking behind us, and I've got things I can do. So I guess I should see how well I'm riding, and then we can see whether I can do things. Okay. A 15.
Okay. As you are riding, you can see Adrian heading off into the distance, and you see the beginnings of what looks like a shoreline of this huge lake of solid ice where it is completely frozen over. And on the other side, you can see what looks like maybe an island at the center of it. Reese, there's a moment where you look towards Adrian, he calls out, and you turn, and a branch crashes into you, sending you straight off of this reindeer, tumbling back, sort of rolling down this path. Averick, you sort of duck at the right point, and Reese almost like knocks you off this. You manage to hold on firm, but you are on the back of this, not at the front. I will also say that there's a moment where, Florence, you have to move this reindeer out of the way so it doesn't trample onto Reese, and as you do, Paula, you lose your grip and you tumble.
I would say Averick would go with Reese. He's not going to leave him behind. Seeing as just last night, and I mean, yeah, Averick does not leave people behind. So I'd say I'll use my 15 to get off the reindeer without injuring myself, but knowing that Reese has just taken a huge thunk.
Yeah, and as you do, your reindeer keeps running because it's following
of course it does.
Adrian. And
Because
you see Paula has fallen as well.
I have a question because we talked about this, I think, out of game before the start of the season. How much damage in like my might or whatever do I take from getting hit by this tree branch?
Being hit by a branch, I was going to say it's probably just one, purely because it's a branch. You're not getting stabbed on it. This is almost like it's hit you in the stomach and winded you rather than doing any actual damage.
Okay.
I will say, Averick, you don't take any because you've used your thing to get off.
Yeah. But what I'll do is, as we come skidding to a halt across the snow, I'm basically going to take a guardy, sort of a defensive stance over top of Reese and looking for how close, or if there's one heading towards us. I guess I see Paula fall as well.
Oh yeah, you both see Paula fall. Paula sort of tugs and rolls, if anything. And Paula, you sort of suddenly realize how sort of slippery some of this is as it's leading up towards the lake.
But Florence is with her reindeer. Is
Florence is still going.
Okay, so we got at least Florence is safe. So there's the three of us on the ground with these night wraiths coming at us. There's a hag back there somewhere. Okay.
How far away are all the wraiths?
These things that are charging towards you, you can almost see like a second wave coming up from behind. They're maybe 20 feet away.
I'm gonna use like my action, if that was my movement to get off. I'm gonna use my action to go ahead and spend 3 might points and reconfigure, which is basically lets me add an edge, and I'm gonna add it into speed. So basically, as he lands, you should almost see Averick sort of tense up, and it's almost like he's like this coiled spring as he tightens basically all of his tendons to now have quicker reactions, as thinking this is gonna get serious.
Okay, what's Paula doing?
In sheer panic, seeing all these things rushing towards her, I think she's gonna like reach through her pockets, just like patting around all over real quick, and then she'll pull out the cube that of Valadria, and activate it and hope that like the holograms like confuse the idea here is that it will like project this hologram of Valadria, which was like life size if I remember correctly, and so maybe that can be some kind of confusion or distraction.
Roll an intellect check purely to see how. I'm gonna roll as well.
Okay. And I am definitely going to spend 3 from my pool. 3 Oh no.
On a 2, you throw this cube. You sort of throw it across the, you watch it sort of spin across the ice. I rolled a nat 1. So as you roll it across the ice, for that moment, Averick and Reese, you watch this thing sort of slide in front of you. Astra is poised, like jaw snarling. And almost for a moment, this almost rainbow-colored burst of light, very blinding, bursts out in front of you. And you feel like you're stood in this bizarre image of Valadria. You can see people walking around, you see cities and buildings, and you see these things come to a skidding halt and start trying to swipe at these people that aren't there. And you can hear Adrian, run, like as he's screaming at all of you. You see more arrows flying overhead, but he is screaming at you to run towards the lake. Are you leaving the cube, Paula?
Yeah, I guess so. Paula, like, regretfully, she kind of has a moment where she's like, oh, and then, but then she runs, and then she runs.
Okay. You start to sprint as these things are like swiping at these people that aren't really there, these almost holograms, as they're hissing at them. What does Reese do? Because Reese, you're getting up and you've just seen this.
I mean, Reese will run as well. He knows what direction the lake is. So.
Okay, Averick?
Yeah, I'm gonna run. But are there any of these that have gotten a whiff of us or are attracted to the noise of? Basically, he's gonna. If he needs to, he's going to do something defensive. He's going to try to slow these down a little bit. Otherwise, he's going to run.
At the moment, they look very distracted by the fact there's people in front of them, and there's so many, and they're trying to swipe at them and grab them. The 3 of you sprint after the other reindeer as you head towards the lake. You can see Adrian dismounting. Florence, you are at the lake's edge, and you look out over this, what just looks like blue glass. This huge lake with these frosted patches of sort of like white, the snow sort of dappled around the edges, and there's this moment where Adrian dismounts. He's like, "Get off your reindeer! Get off the reindeer! We can't ride across the ice on a reindeer. It'll break."
We're gonna run across the ice. Oh, this is gonna be.
And meanwhile, Florence is like, "Paula, where do we go? Where do we go?" As she realizes the pointing hand has fallen away, and as kind of the situation crashes down on her, all she can do is kind of listen to Adrian, and she'll kind of tumble off of the reindeer, completely unable to do it in any sort of elegant way, but she's told by someone who knows better.
Also, that he half drags you, and you can see Rika pulling Tuva off of this reindeer as well. Half sort of like got her over her shoulder. You can see Tuva's kicking and screaming about something, but Rika is not having any of it. And Adrian looks like, "Go now, start moving across the water and do it carefully."
No, we have to go back for them.
Go! And he sort of shoves you onto this ice. You roll a speed check to keep your balance, please.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it might be worth doing it at disadvantage, because I think Florence fights it. She's starting to go back towards the others as she gets kind of shoved and kind of almost comically is pushed out of the ice.
Yeah. On that, you manage to sort of stabilize yourself. It's that really awkward Bambi on ice moment where you run on the same spot for a moment, and you look down at this ice, and you can just see this. You can see the bottom of this lake. You can see the rocks. You can see these fish frozen in place. These huge eel-like creatures frozen beneath this lake in these weeds. With Rika is sort of yelling after you as she's sort of half dragging Tuva across this lake, as you can see the island at the center. I will say, Paula, Reese, and Averick, you can see Adrian running towards you, not like to go past you, but to beckon you further, and he is just firing arrow after arrow. These creatures haven't started coming after you yet. But if you would like to risk a look back, you can.
No looking back, no turning to salt.
Yeah, it's time to book it.
Okay.
Yep. I think Avric's going to run, seeing that they are still distracted. But if anything starts coming this way, Avric he's feeling very responsible for this. So he's going to try to keep everyone safe.
Okay, you keep running. Adrian is firing those arrows. You see these wisps of color as they sail off, striking some of these creatures as they're swiping at the people that aren't there. And he's like, across the lake, steady, slowly, no quick movements. I need you all to roll a speed check as you step onto the lake.
Can I use balance?
You can.
I was going to ask the same thing.
I'm going to use an effort.
I'm also going to use 2 effort from my intellect pool because I have the think your way out enabler ability. So not only is Paula just trying to balance on the ice, but she's also looking for vulnerabilities in the ice and trying to avoid the weak spots.
Absolutely.
How many effort? 2 effort.
Would my trap finder work in this case?
I
Because
would
it's
say
like a floor that gives away beneath you?
I'd say you could definitely see like where the cracks in the ice are and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and spend the intellect for finding traps. But then it's a speed check, so hopefully. It's 16.
Okay. And what does Reese roll?
Ah, fuck, I'm just gonna roll flat and see what the fuck happens again, because that's all the most fun, right?
Yep.
Fuck!
I can't see, it hasn't loaded for me yet.
Yeah,
I got a 1. GM intrusion.
Oh, here it is. Yay!
Paula, you take a moment where you almost dance your way across this. If anything, you've got that movement, you know how it works. What does it look like as Paula glides? You can see Florence and you can catch up to Florence.
Yeah, so Paula, she like leans forward and almost like, you know how you see with the speed skaters, how they like bend forward? She's doing that almost, and it just looks like some cross between a speed skater and a figure skater as she's kind of zooming across this lake with ease.
You have this moment where you catch up to Florence, and Florence, you see how well Paula glides towards you or on this ice. You can both look down and see that where the thin parts of this ice is and where the thick parts are, and keep to those. Avric, you managed to, despite having almost that, it's not elegant like Paula's, it's kind of clumsy, but it's almost spacing yourself out, almost as if you're skating across this, running from side to side. Every now and then you fall, but your mittens and everything sort of help you glide that little bit further. As you can see, Adrian also enter onto this. Also, Paula and Florence, from where you are, could you roll me a perception check, please, or intellect?
Okay, no, I'm not gonna use anything this time.
Okay. As you both sort of not crash into each other, but manage to grab hold of each other and steady, you look back towards the shore, and this huge night hag is coming up towards this water's edge where this ice is, and she steps onto it, and then she starts to run towards Reese. And Reese, you have that moment where you fall, as Astrid falls as well. She's not used to walking across frozen ice. It's something you'd normally navigate away from if you ever had to do this. And there's this moment where you fall and you turn, and you see her galloping towards you, almost not caring about this ice as she shatters a lot of this. The nails going into the ice itself, and you see these spider webs of cracks. You also see the other sort of these night stalkers touching the ice, following suit of their master, and their hands are hot as they touch the ice and they start to hiss. They look for a moment and they charge. Averick, you're running. Florence, you can see, you and Paula can see Adrian is still gesturing for you to run, but you look back and you see Reese as this night hag, Reese, jumps on you. You feel these claws sink in, and there's a crack beneath where your hands are, and there's a moment where you look and see this like glass spider web beneath you, and you hear that creak, and the ice gives way as she drags you under the water.
You can, yeah, it's on you. You can go, but I've got something I want to do.
Here's the thing. There's not a lot of things that Reese can do, but since I'm being leapt on, and I've been holding on to some donations, I would like to stab her when she leaps on me, and I would like to use a auto success.
Okay. You crash through this ice. You can feel it give away. And Paula and Florence, you're the ones who see it first as you're facing the other direction. And all of these sort of dark waters start to screech as the ice starts to shatter all the way around this lake's surface. Adrian is screaming and running. You can see his arms moving as he has that bow and the quiver in his hand almost empty. And Reese, you are plunged, and for a moment you gasp because of how cold that water is as it hits, and you just fall into this ice cold water. You see Astrid fall with you as she yelps, almost turning around in this cold water. This is deep. One of the last things you hear is Tuva screaming your name as you disappear beneath the surface. And this hag, as much like you will take 2 more might damage. This claws is sunk into your legs as she tries to climb up you. So what does it look like as you stab her?
I have a mechanical question.
Mm-hmm.
I have resilience, which gives me 1 point of armor against any physical damage, even physical damage that would normally ignore armor.
Okay.
So,
that would lower it. Yeah.
Am I gonna ignore it then? Am I taking 2 points from
I'd say ignore the damage, but you will feel this. Like you're
right.
It's almost like a burning sensation. It's a weird contrast where you're in freezing cold water, but it's like a red hot iron has just sunk itself into your leg as it's pulled you down.
Okay. And then I think because I'm being dragged in this water, and it's probably, I mean, we only had so much daylight to begin with, so I'd imagine it's dark. I was gonna say, it's probably really dark in the water already. And he pulls out that knife that maybe glows a little, just like a candlelight almost, and he just, as he's getting battered by this night hag, and he just, not that he takes a breath underwater, but he like takes that moment to listen and be calm amidst all this chaos, and he just pushes it right into her chest or whatever.
Yeah, you have this moment where you steady yourself. You can see Astrid trying to do the same as she scrabbles up towards the ice, and you take that knife, the one you stabbed that giant's hand with, and you use as much force as you can, and it feels almost in slow motion where you can feel the resistance of the water against you. You feel how cold and tense your body has become. You jam that blade right into this creature's chest, and you see bubbles sort of erupt from her mouth and these huge pointed teeth as she screams, almost muffled under this water as you are both beneath the ice. I will say to the rest of you, these Night Stalkers are still on the ice and they are charging towards you.
How does this battle with Reese and the Night Hag look like it's going? I mean, they've both been drug under. You were saying that the water that was crystal clear.
It's getting darker now because the thing is with where you are literally watching this sun
Right.
go down as it gets darker and darker, almost like a shadow from the forest is currently passing over the lake, heading towards where that island is, bizarrely towards the well. And you can see you saw Reese get grabbed and dragged under, but you can see all of these bubbles sort of erupting, and then this red just leak onto the surface.
I mean, does it look like she's still moving? It
doesn't look like there's any movement right now. There's bubbles, there's a lot of bubbles.
So I can't tell whether
it's not like thrashing.
I can't tell whether she's dead or not.
No.
Which one of us is dead?
That's true too. So yeah, he can't see either one. So Averick is going to go running back to that hole in the ice. Is going to go running back to the hole in the ice and look down into the water to see if he can see what's happening.
Okay, can you roll a spot hidden check then? Intellect or perception check, please.
I'll do intellect is what I have.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to see, so I'm going to go ahead and use I'm going to use effort. Golly, it's expensive because I've got no edge in intellect. And I am going to use one of my advantages, or my last advantage, to roll this because I want to see. A 9, and a 7.
Okay, you're almost.
And I've got my dark vision.
Yes, you're almost looking through like this red water as it leaks up onto the surface, and the first thing you see is this bizarre sort of jaw coming up towards you, and you have to move as Astrid comes crashing out of the water, claws sunk deep on the ice. Reese, how would you leave this water?
I think it's very similar to Astrid, except he's got the knife in his hand, and so he stabs it into the ice and uses that extra leverage to start dragging himself as he tries to crawl up. Because I mean, he's fallen on ice a lot. He just tries to avoid the ice, but he knows what to do in this situation.
I will say that Reese, you do see, you can feel that pain in your leg. It's weirdly numb at the moment, so you get the feeling that maybe you won't feel as much pain yet, but it's going to set in. You also know you do not want to be in the ice waters with all of these eels whilst you're bleeding.
Cool.
Just a heads up.
Cool. This is fine.
Do I see the hag coming up? Is she...
The hag doesn't seem to be coming up at all.
Okay.
But you can see, you're right, Reese is landed at your feet, effectively.
Yeah, no, so in that case, then I'm going to try to help him out and look around to see if we're got any of these other ones threatening us.
Okay, you can see all the Night Stalkers, they're literally coming in from the side. You can see some of them are sort of standing on the ice and they're not enjoying the water, as it were. They seem to be struggling. But you can either help Reese out and pull him up, or...
I'm looking for immediate threats. So it's either if there's one getting close enough to it might attack, or if this hag looks like she might be jumping up out of the water.
The night hag doesn't seem to be coming back out of the water. It looks like Reese has dealt a lot of... You can see blood on his leg, but it doesn't warrant the amount of blood that is coming up in the water right now. But Paula and Florence, I will say, you see these Night Stalkers coming towards you. You feel like maybe they didn't go towards the Night Hag, because the Night Hag, they seem to be a little bit scared of it. But are you heading towards the island, or have you stopped?
I think Paula, seeing that Averick went back for Reese, is in self-preservation mode and is kind of going full speed ahead at this point.
Okay. Sorry, go on, Florence.
No, and I think Florence was so fixated on when Paula fell off and is now seeing that she's okay, that's kind of all she has the mental bandwidth for in this moment. Paula's okay, so we're going to keep running.
Okay. And you both sprint. You can see Rika and Tuva almost, they're so close to the island right now. There's one at the center with trees on, almost like in a circle surrounding this thing. As the sun goes behind the mountain, and you just see this shadow hit, and everything goes dark. I will say that you are now stood there, you are running, you can reach the island. You can't see Averick and Reese. You can see Adrian coming, almost tearing through the darkness towards you. See him light up this sort of like this crystal that you've seen before as he slides it across towards you on the island as it goes spinning around on the ice. And he comes and stands right next to all of you, draws his bow and these arrows that they're glowing arrowheads and points them in towards the darkness where you can hear this snarling, this clacking, this ice breaking. But you can't see Averick or Reese.
I think this is a gloves on situation for Paula. So like, just like almost like daintily, you know, she kind of like whips out the gloves, shakes it out a little bit and puts her gloves on and activates the light fingers.
Yeah, and you sort of just hear that woof as it sort of goes up, and you've got those very pale blue, almost white lights at your fingertips and in your palms. And you look out into the night, into the darkness. Every now and then, it catches a set of eyes of these dark stalkers. Averick and Reese, what are you doing? Everything has gone pitch black. Averick, you can see to an extent. It's not dim light, but you can see more in general, I guess. But...
Yeah, we both can see in the dark pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as soon as Reese gets out of the water, like even as he's doing whatever, it's just this very tired, fuck me, it's cold. Come on, Averick, we gotta go. Help me up.
Yep. He'll help, but I mean, I think Averick is scanning around. He's also keeping an eye on that hole, seeing as he was up close and personal with that night hag and saw what she did and just worried if she starts to emerge, but and also sort of looking around him. I think he also, as soon as he starts to go, shh. Sound, remember?
That ice is still gonna keep breaking. We gotta go.
Yes.
Could you both roll a speed check, please?
Can I use my balance again? Not that it helped
yes,
last
you can.
time.
You can. Yes.
I'm gonna
go ahead
spend
and
some
use an edge.
Yeah.
Since I've got the extra edge there, I'm going to go ahead and use it.
14. That's pretty good.
18.
Yeah. You both tear across this ice. You've got Astrid sort of slipping and sliding next to you, but keeping up. And Reese, I will say it is very awkward. It's been a long time since you've been on ice at all. As I said, you tend to maybe avoid it more often than not because you know of these things in the water. As you head through this darkness, and Averick, you too, but it's almost like a sprint now. As you manage to head towards this island, you can see these glows in the distance, these different sort of lights that seem to be dancing around in the darkness, and you can hear that screeching as these things are trying to tear across the ice after all of you. Could you both make me one more speed check to get to the island? Or balance, I'm saying.
16.
3. I'm running out of speed points to spend. I didn't want to use it.
Averick, you tear off. You've got that focus now. You can see that light. You know where it is. You know where this is. And you speed off. You head towards the light. You can see for a moment as you realize you're running on your own, but you've got those lights ahead of you as you come skidding to a halt by the shoreline as Adrian is screaming at you. You can see Florence, Paula, you can see Rika and Tuva. And Florence and Paula, you only see Averick rock up.
I think Averick's going to turn to be, assuming that Reese is just a step or two behind, and when he looks and sees, I mean, as soon as you say it's narratively okay, he would tear back out on the ice to go get Reese.
Okay, I need you to roll an intellect to find him. Is Paula and Florence doing anything, or are they staying put?
I think if Paula saw Averick come all the way up here and then turn around and go back, I think Paula's gonna follow and go back and kind of use her gloves to like help him shine a light.
Okay.
If that helps, I don't know.
Could you roll a navigational perception check then, please?
I'll roll navigation, and I will spend 1 from my pool.
Okay. You go tearing sort of out after Averick, and you sort of lose Averick for a moment as he sort of scatters in a panic on this ice, and you sort of cast that light out to see if you can see anything. You can see there is someone out there on the ice, but because you don't have like that dark vision, you can definitely see that there is a figure out there, and you can see that huge wolf shape. Florence, are you doing anything?
I think she's so caught up in the moment, and like when they were being chased the first time, one foot in front of the other, that she hasn't stopped running yet. So she kind of, I think, makes it onto the island and just keeps sailing past, and it'll probably be a hot second before she registers that now the threat is behind them.
Okay. Reese, you're stumbling about in the dark as you notice you didn't see that, not thin bit of ice, it was more that where some of it had broken, it had skated across, and you had slipped and fallen. And as you do, you sort of come sliding around, almost spinning, and that's what disorientates you, as you can't exactly see where you are, and you don't hit your head. It's not that. You feel like the as you hit the thing itself, and you look down in the water and you can see that frozen eel sort of face sort of just leering back up at you as you scrabble to your feet. Could you roll me one last balance, please? And an intellect, see if you can spot the lights.
Because Roll20's been real mean all of a sudden, I'm gonna advantage both of those, I think.
Okay.
17 for the balance. 20 because I said I was spending my advantage.
Describe it to me. What does Reese do when he sees the lights? You can hear Averick, he can see Averick coming through. He sees Paula's, like, the lights coming through.
I think there's a moment where he's like, he gets himself up and he finds his footing, and he's like, remember that one time you went ice skating? Just, you don't have blades on your feet. Just do that. And he like starts getting that going to head towards the lights, because obviously the problem was the whole time he's been trying to walk. You don't walk on the ice, you shuffle or skate. So
you sort of Astrid is right beside you. You see her all over the place. You feel how wet her fur is when you sort of use her almost to get back up.
Yeah, and I would imagine Reese is it's probably honestly hard to move, because he's really so cold at this point.
I say your muscles are tensing up. You know this is a dangerous temperature to be at as you sprint across this ice, and you can see Averick, you see Paula, and Averick and Paula, you see him as he comes tearing through that darkness as you go to meet each other.
I don't think I'm in good shape.
I would grab a hold of him, and actually, knowing how big he is, I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 might and use Muscles of Iron, basically, which just gives me advantage on lifting, carrying, all that type of stuff.
Okay. What is Paula doing as she sees Reese? I will say, Paula, you can see Astrid as well, and you see all those eyes in the darkness while she waves your glove hand over.
Is it clear that that Reese has fallen in the ice and he's wet and everything?
Oh yeah, he is soaked. You can see that Astrid is as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull the stones that I got just before this trip out of my pocket and just kind of like shove them in Reese's hands, you know, to help him stay a little bit warmer while he's riding on Averick's shoulders.
Yeah, and Reese, you have these like discs thrust into your hand where they start to steam, but they sort of seem to heat up gradually, so it's not like frostbite straight away. As you all start to make your way towards the island, you hear that moment of Adrian screaming at all of you. As you hit that shoreline, you see this wave of Night Stalkers coming towards you. And as soon as your feet, including Astrid's, touch that firm soil, Adrian pulls an arrow glowing red and points down at the ice and fires. And underneath the water, you just hear this soft explosion as all the ice starts to break and shatter, and you see these Night Stalkers falling into this lake, this cold water. You hear the screech as they drop one by one. And then there's this almost static, like blue energy as you see these eels sort of rise up and take hold, grabbing and pulling them down. Sort of this mass of one explosion. You all have to sort of shield yourself as this ice shatters. And these eels, with that sort of soft blue glow, it lights up the lake, showing you as they start to hunt after these Night Stalkers struggling to stay up, and drag them beneath the water as they screech. And you are out of combat.
All right, can I get a head count? And Paula starts counting off everyone's heads right away, just like as if it's like a field trip.
Adrian sits there with like his hands on his knees, like, whew, sort of like puts some of the rest of his arrows back in the quiver and moves further onto the island. He's like, get away from the shore.
Oh, it would be my pleasure.
Yeah, after seeing all that lightning and happening with the eels, I think there's that realization of just how dangerous it was that Reese was in the water. And so I think Averick, all but, I think he probably has, a little, sort of a side carry with Reese's arm around his neck, and with his extra strength right now to sort of starts dragging inland, probably faster, trying not to look as scared as he is.
I will say that the screeches and the hisses die down, but you can hear that static and that crackle of electricity, that sort of flashes of light blue light every now and then coming up from these eels, these huge sort of muzzles, these big teeth, these wide yellow eyes. And you see these hands of the Night Stalkers disappear beneath the water. You hear the snapping of jaws, but you don't see any more Night Stalkers, just the lashing tails of these eels.
I think it's all Reese can do to hold on to Averick and stumble around at this point with how cold it probably is.
Yeah, you can feel your whole body tensing up. If anything, you're now far more aware now that everything has crashed, like everything has stopped, how cold you are, and you know this isn't good. You can feel where your clothes are wet, it's like they're refreezing. You can see Astrid really panting, almost like she's trying to take in a breath of this cold air. And Tuva runs over to you and hugs your leg. Not your bad one. She does take some form of precaution, but she hugs it. It was just like, what was it? What were you doing? Where did you go?
I took a little swim.
Why? And she sort of looks at you with genuine confusion and panic as she looks up at you.
I don't know, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Rika walks over. We need to get you warm.
Yes.
And Aiden, cave entrance is this way. And he starts to walk amongst some of these trees. It's not a very big island. You can definitely see the rock build up.
No one said anything about a cave. This just keeps on getting more and more complicated by the second.
I mean, we can't go more than 8 hours without some crazy shit happening, Paula. I think the cave is the least of our worries.
You say that now.
I mean, you're welcome to go back to the lake full
Oh,
of
no.
electric eels.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Let's... how's the stones holding up?
Thank you.
Good. Yeah, cave away, I guess.
Yeah, Averick just is sort of dragging Reese that direction. Maybe pausing to let Tuva get her hug in, but he's feeling really guilty.
And Florence didn't stop running, I think, until that explosion sound went off, and she just like almost stumbled to her feet and looked back and kind of also did that head count to make sure, did everyone make it through? And all she can do is just stand there and wait as the rest of the group comes together and kind of catches up to where she had gotten.
See that Adrian stops by the entrance itself and immediately goes about setting a fire. Rika, you notice, takes Tuva in an attempt to distract to go find some firewood.
I mean, this is a situation that I don't know that Reese has been in personally, but he knows all about it, and so he shakily and stiffly tries to start pulling every piece of thing off of him because there's so much wet clothes.
I don't know if this will work or not, because Averick is also his descriptor is mystical. He has hedge magic, and we'd always said that he was sort of a hydromancer, sort of a waterbender. Could he use his hedge magic to basically help pull the water out of Reese's clothes to help get the clothes dry again?
Yeah, like you're wringing it out.
Yeah, like basically that he's just like using his magic to pull the water out of the fabric.
I'd say you could definitely know it's going to take a while because it's already frozen as well. So it's you actually feel some of it as you're pulling it. You see the ice break around where his shoulders are.
Yeah.
As it's taken and almost formed like this. Like as Reese takes off his jacket, Reese, you can hear it almost like cracking.
Yeah, I think he's probably still needs to take it off and everything and get a dry blanket, but I can, otherwise it could be a day for it to dry out. This could make it a couple hours or so.
And Adrian sets that fire and half drags you to it, Reese. And just is like, sit here, you know why.
Yup.
And Astrid sort of flops down next to you, and you can see that condensation rising off of her fur as she sort of steams next to you. What's Paula doing at this point, is seeing this?
I think she goes up to Florence and kind of nudges her. Hey, you make a pretty good reindeer pilot.
And Florence is, I think, still in the snow, and she's like huffing and puffing really hard. I'm glad I had you as the navigator. I guess I could steer the thing, but I think I would have crashed us into a tree.
Oh, I don't know. You seem to have it pretty together, considering all that chaos.
I'm just happy we made it through. I'm happy we're all here on the other side, wherever here is.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're not too far from the well.
Me too.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm feeling a little guilty that I dragged all of you guys out here. You know, you really didn't all have to come, and this was kind of a selfish journey. So
I wouldn't, Paula. I'm not blaming you for any of this. It sounds important to you. I don't really know who this person is we're supposed to be meeting, but it seems like it would be worth it.
I hope so. You know, this could just be one step closer to Edric, or, you know, unraveling some totally other thread of mystery that we didn't even know existed, because it seems like a new one pops up every day.
Maybe we can go talk to Adrian about if we can keep moving or how far we are, because I'd hate for you to miss this window.
Oh no, Reese looks like he's in pretty bad shape. You know, I wouldn't want to get there on time at the cost of anyone. I mean, it's, you know, I might have been being a little bit over dramatic before when I was kind of freaking out and rushing everyone.
When something's important to you, I'll just say I've been there. I get it. I didn't even realize something happened to Reese.
Oh yeah, no, he's in pretty bad shape. He fell into the water.
I'm glad he's out now.
Excuse me. But, well, I just wanted to thank you for your hard work.
You too, Paul. I think we all made it. And I think Florence will start working her way back towards the fire to start warming up and be close to the rest of the group. Come on, let's join everyone.
When Florence says we all made it, Paula has a little bit of remorse thinking about her cube, which did not make it. But she keeps that to herself. And no, let's go warm up. It's pretty chilly out.
I think Averick will have opened up his pack and taken out his old adventuring, tin teapot and these sort of metal mugs that he and Tolan used to share on adventures, and will take out some of his some of the tea leaves that he normally saves for himself, his sort of better ones, and brews up some really steeping hot tea and pours 2 mugs of it and goes and sits next to Reese and hands him the mug. And I'm sorry. I thought Tuva had come with me out into the woods, so I followed her, and it was that thing. But I mean, it was stupid to begin with. I should have just held it or gone before we left. Or I'm sorry.
It's not your fault, Averick. That could have happened to anyone. Places like this, they catch even the most cautious and wary people.
I don't know what I would have done if someone else who was right there with me ended up sacrificing themselves or having something happen to him because of me. I'm sorry.
I know that I can't probably convince you that it's not really your fault, so I'll just... Your apologies accepted, thank you.
Just sort of nods and sort of just quietly sits next to you, making sure your mug stays full. And it just keeps slowly. It's probably just like patches of probably 6 inches by 6 inches of these heavy furs and stuff as you're just wrapped in a blanket of him pulling the water and the ice out of it using his magic, one little square by one little square, so that you'll have warm clothes again as soon as possible. Sort of almost like it's penance.
I think honestly, Reese is already a quiet person, and so talking now is too much effort, but he kind of lapses off into his own thoughts and starts absently humming the song that Astrid used to sing.
You hum that song, and at the back of your mind there's a moment where you could almost hear her singing it, a memory. And Florence, you can see, stood behind him. That face you saw looking in back in Carmen. Of that little girl. And she sings in time with Reese. Smiles. And she looks at you briefly and gives you a sort of sad, soft look. And sits next to him. Behind him, but next to him. And hums in perfect time with Reese. I think that is where, excuse me, we will leave it this week. So, yes, wonderful, 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 thank you. A few things before we head off. Please check out the links coming up in chat now. That includes the Discord. We have a channel just for this game. We would love to hear what you think or what your theories are as to what is going on. Also, if you would like to get into a game, you can go and drop Scrat a DM on Twitter and we will get you on the list and you can come and play. Come and learn to play some D&D and stuff like that. If you've missed out on anything, you can head over to YouTube. All of our games are in playlists so that you can catch up. A huge thank you to our wonderful sponsors who we could absolutely not be doing this without, in the form of Hero Forge, that make the most wonderful minis that you will have seen in the break and in the beforehand screen. We're doing some more exciting stuff with them in the upcoming weeks, which I'm very excited about. Also, Mage Hand Press. Mage Hand Press, you can see their Fae Folio in action here on the channel, and also their Dark Matter, which you can now get in hardback, which is a particular favorite of mine, which is space and D&D smushed together, and it's very, very wonderful. Last but certainly not least, also the Deck of Many, with the Deck of Many Things and the Magic Moving Spell cards, including their Humblewood, which is one of our viewer games every Thursday. Otherwise, keep evoking emotions, and we see you next week. Bye.